Ark of the Covenant, creation of the Ark of the Covenant, removing the sphere of Amenti, the flood, the Andromeda Galaxy, the Syrian-Arcturian Coalition for Interplanetary Defense, and the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds, the Urite series, Egyptians, and the Priesthood of Ur, 849,000-800,000 years ago. The sphere of Amenti had been returned to Earth's core by the Elohim and the Syrian Council series and Palladorians of Harmonic Universe 2 about 900,000 years ago, accelerating assembly of the DNA strands and releasing the seal of Pallador for some strains of the races from the second seeding. Some groups were able to evolve enough to release the seal of Amenti from their DNA, which allowed them to ascend through the halls of Amenti back to Terra. For those of you who don't know what Terra is in the second harmonic, and it holds the density and dimensions of 4, 5, and 6. Earth is in the first harmonic universe, which holds the density and dimensions of 1, 2, and 3D, all which allowed them to ascend through the halls of Amenti back to Terra. And all was going according to plan until the outbreak of the 1,000 Years' War, 850,000 years ago. Following the outbreak and escalation of the war, and the Anunnaki's intentions of destroying the sphere of Amenti in order to use humans as a worker race, it was no longer safe to keep the sphere of Amenti within the Earth's core, as Anunnaki operatives could easily discover access to its D2 resting place. Under the command of the Bruna and the Ra Confederacy, the Syrian Council of Harmonic Universe 2 assisted the series of Harmonic Universe 2 and the Elohim in once again removing the sphere of Amenti from the Earth. The sphere of Amenti was removed from Earth and placed within a secured location about 849,000 years ago. The sphere was placed within a planetary core in the Andromeda Galaxy under high security and held there in exclusion until the close of the 1,000 Years' War in 848,800 years ago. With the implementation of the Treaty of El Anu and the threat of the Anunnaki resistance, a multidimensional intergalactic effort was made to ensure protection for the sphere of Amenti. The Syrian Council of Harmonic Universe 2 petitioned assistance from numerous star systems in Harmonic Universe 1 and Harmonic Universe 2 to provide security. Races from the Arcturus and some of the Palladian systems offered assistance, as many humans had during the course of their troubled evolution. Found exile within the Palladian and Arcturian cultures, cooperation was given from both Harmonic Universe 1 and Harmonic Universe 2 members of these races. The Syrian Council of Harmonic Universe 2 formed an organization with pro-human members of the Harmonic Universe 1 Syrians and several cultures from Arcturus, called the Syrian-Arcturian Coalition for Interplanetary Defense, through which the hidden sphere of Amenti, Earth and its allies, would be protected if need arose. This organization was later invited to join a much larger interdimensional guardian group known as the Interdimensional Association of Free Worlds, whose membership extended well into the highest harmonic universes. Though many races in the Andromeda Galaxy were already members of this collective, the Association of the Planets in Andromeda would not agree to military involvement, as they were not entirely supportive of the conditions of the Treaty of El Anu. They did, however, allow the sphere of Amenti to remain hidden within a secret location in their star system. Following the removal of the sphere of Amenti 849,000 years ago, the Earth once again endured a series of climatic geographical changes as Earth's energetic grid rebalanced following the removal of the sphere again. Floodwaters rose, covering portions of Earth's surface. In historical record, this time period became interwoven with the early flooding associated with the Electric Wars, and a later time period of flooding, all consolidation into the story of your biblical flood. The guardian associations knew that the third seeding of the human lineage would have to be orchestrated once the planetary environment rebalanced. But the third seeding could not take place directly through Earth's core, as the sphere of Amenti morphogenetic field was now in the Andromeda Galaxy. The third eye of Horus portal, through which the second seeding took place, would no longer be useful, as its connection to the sphere of Amenti had been severed. So a new portal bridge needed to be created between Andromeda Galaxy and Earth in order for the third seeding to take place. The third eye of Horus portal bridge remained opened as a passage between Earth and Sirius B, frequently being used by the Canatarians of Sirius B for visitation during the third seeding, but it's no longer connected to the sphere of Amenti, and so could not be used for the ascension to Terra. The Ark of the Covenant, 840,000 years ago. A portal bridge between the sphere of Amenti and in the Andromeda Galaxy and the Earth's D2 core was constructed by the Guardian Organization about 840,000 years ago. The intergalactic bridge was called the Ark of the Covenant of Pallador, and later became known as the Ark of the Covenant. Through the Ark of the Covenant, the race souls of the sphere of Amenti could once again be reseeded on Earth. And souls from the sphere of Amenti would pass through the Ark bridge as pure consciousness and merge with the Earth's morphogenetic field in D2. Then birth into physical manifestation. A fifth-dimensional security seal was placed upon the Ark of the Covenant, which meant that the portal operated as a one-way door. Souls of the races could descend through the passageway but could not return to the Amenti morphogenetic field for ascension unless they had fifth-dimensional coding in their gene structure. This genetic ticket to freedom became known as the Shield of the Ark, and the incarnates who bore this fifth-dimensional shield within their genetic code could pass through the seal of the Ark of the Covenant and return through Amenti to Terra. As races 3, 4, and 5 did not have the fifth DNA strand within their genetic imprint, they could not return through the Ark, even as consciousness, unless the seals of Pallador and Amenti were released. Release of the seal of Amenti would allow these races to merge with their antiparticles and pick up the fifth strand. But first, the fourth dimensional seal of Pallador had to be released. Evolution would take time for races 3 through 5 of the third seeding. Those who could not re-enter the Amenti morphogenetic field would evolve within the fourth dimensional astral planes between incarnations, along with those identity fragments created through the seal of Pallador, until the time when the Ark of the Covenant was opened and the fifth dimensional seal on the Ark released. The sixth race, Malvarians, and their Melchizedek cloister then held the key to ascension, as a fifth DNA strand was included in their genetic imprint. The sixth race would be born with the shield of the Ark in their genetic codes, and as Anunnaki, human hybrids, Anu, were to be seeded through the Melchizedek cloister, the Anu would also bear the shield of the Ark. Those bearing the shield of the Ark would become the earth guardians of the Ark of the Covenant and the sphere of Amenti. The Ark of the Covenant was designed in such a way that the sphere of Amenti could eventually be re-entered into the earth core through the portal bridge of the Ark. In this way, the Ark became self-regulating. The return of the sphere of Amenti would depend upon conditions in the Earth's planetary grid, and the Guardians would not have to re-enter the sphere. The fifth dimensional seal on the Ark of the Covenant was designed to be released once a certain percentage of the Earth's population had assembled the fifth DNA strand, which meant that a certain number of the Melchizedek cloister would have to be born upon the planet. If 8% of the living population could assemble the fifth DNA structure, the Earth's grid vibration would rise, affecting the vibrational speed of the energy particles within the D2 Earth core. As the D2 particles began to vibrate faster, a blue-white spark of fifth dimensional high-frequency energy would be sent up from the Earth's core through the portal bridge of the Ark of the Covenant, and this spark would penetrate the fifth dimensional seal of the Ark and enter the blue flame within the sphere of Amenti. The blue flame would then send a corresponding spark of fifth dimensional frequency back into the Earth's core, which would open the Earth's morphogenetic field to accept the sphere of Amenti, while raising the Earth's grid speed high enough to hold the D5 blue flame morphogenetic field of Terra. Upon the second spark, the sphere of Amenti would begin its descent through the Ark of the Covenant, while the blue flame remained within the Andromeda planet. Originally, the descent of the sphere of Amenti was to take about 2,000 years. Its energies became progressively more available to the people of Earth, stimulating the assembly of the fifth DNA strand and the raising of consciousness. During its 2,000-year descent, the Earth grid speed would rise in increments, allowing the Earth's energy system to adjust to the increasing infusion of high-frequency energy. And once the sphere was repositioned within Earth's core, there would be a period of several years of the Earth's grid to assimilate the new frequency, and the race memory would progressively infuse the Earth's grid. As a race memory from the Amenti morphogenetic fields filtered through the Earth's grid, the energy would stimulate the DNA of everyone on the planet, and the lost memory would re-enter the cellular memory of the individual as their DNA strands began to assemble through the new fifth dimensional frequency now available to them through the Earth's core. Over the course of those several years, the race would evolve rapidly, and a mass awakening to the lost memory of multidimensional reality would occur within large numbers of the population. Through these energetic processes, the Earth and her people would be prepared to receive the blue flame of Amenti. The blue flame would begin a rapid descent to Earth's core following the opening of the Ark of the Covenant. It would take approximately 12 years for the blue flame to descend to Earth through the Ark of the Covenant. Return of the blue flame was a very precise process, and had to be orchestrated in synchronization with the natural time cycle of Earth, was a part centering Earth during the period of natural dimensional blending that occurs at various times within Earth's time cycle. Timing was very important in the return of the blue flame, as certain conditions had to be planned in advance of its return. During dimensional blend, the blue flame would not directly enter the sphere of Amenti, as the sphere would be connected to the Earth's morphogenetic field at D2. The inner Earth portals to D2 opening the dimensional blending period, and if the fifth dimensional frequencies of the blue flame merge directly with the second dimensional frequencies of the Earth's core, Earth's planetary grid would explode. The fifth dimensional frequency had to be dispersed through the Earth's grid via the energetic fields of certain people alive on the planet. The bioenergetic fields of those individuals would serve as a frequency modulators for the fifth dimensional energy. These individuals would hold the 5D frequency of the blue flame within their own energy system through the height of the dimensional blending. And then when the natural cycle of the dimensional blend reached its close, the blue flame would be returned to the sphere of Amenti at Earth's core, and the halls of Amenti, the ascension portals to Terra, would open to those on the planet who had assembled the fifth DNA strand and could pass through the blue flame. For people who had not yet assembled the fifth strand, much information on how to go about accelerating this process would be made available as a memory bank of the race would be restored. As long as the blue flame remained within the sphere of Amenti at Earth's core, the ascension portals to Terra would remain open to the races, allowing them to evolve rapidly and complete their tour of incarnational duty on Earth. The souls trapped within the D4 astral and D2 elemental kingdoms could also complete their evolution and ascend. We've all been trapped here, you guys. Even in D2, inner Earth. So the elemental kingdoms in the inner Earth are ascending as well. I believe there's more than just the elemental kingdoms as well in D2. But I regress, so I'll continue on. The individuals who would be responsible for holding the fifth dimensional frequencies within their bioenergetic field during the time of transition are called keepers of the flame. They would, over a period of years, dispense the fifth dimensional frequencies throughout the large numbers of the population, assisting the populace to assemble the fifth DNA strand, expand their consciousness, and transmute their bodies so portions of the population could catch the morphogenetic wave. And that is discussed later. And pass through the halls of Amenti on that wave while the dimensional blend was still in effect. Once the cycle of the dimensional blending was through, the flame would be placed over the sphere, and the remaining populations would continue to evolve on Earth until the next morphogenetic wave. The people who were able to catch the first wave would find themselves teleported into the future, where they would appear on the Tarian landmass that was once called the continent of Mu. This Tarian location represents the primary reality of the Earth as it exists about 2,500 years ago in the future. The version of Earth whose grid has completed its merger with Terra. This path of accelerated evolution constitutes leaping past 2,500 years of evolution within Earth's present time continuum and represents literally the biological time travel into the future. With the opening or sparking of the Ark of the Covenant, this path of accelerated evolution would become available to some humans on Earth. The keepers of the flame would be responsible for assisting people who were ready to take the morphogenetic wave voyage in preparing their bodies and consciousness for this transition. The keepers of the flame would receive their infusion of D5 frequency from one planetary individual who had the genetic code that would allow the flame to be fully embodied as it passed through the Ark of the Covenant. The person is called the flame bearer or the staff holder. The flame bearer would have to activate the 12-strand DNA package within the body before being able to embody the flame. This person would incarnate with a support team of 6 fully activated 12 strands avatar souls from the fourth harmonic universe who would raise the planetary frequency high enough to allow the flame bearer to fully activate the codes. Due to the bioenergetic mechanics of the human body, the flame bearer would have to be a female in gender. The avatars all male in order to keep the energetic balance of the planetary grid intact. I'm going to repeat that. The bearer would have to be female in gender, the avatars all male, in order to keep the energetic balance of the planetary grid intact. And remember, the male would be a positive and a female would be the negative in the energetic sense. During the opening of the Ark of the Covenant, there would also be a family of individuals appointed to embody the rod. The orange gold flame morphogenetic field of Earth during the time of transition. The rod holder would be male. Members of the specialized incarnational groups would have to incarnate in the proper sequence within the right time periods in conjunction with the Earth's time cycles and within the appropriate genetic lineage that would provide them with the needed genetic imprint. The process of opening the Ark of the Covenant and allowing the sphere of Amenti to return to Earth required a tremendous amount of multidimensional organization. The fulfillment of the promise of the Ark of the Covenant would take over 800,000 years to fulfill. And meanwhile, the races of the third seeding would begin their evolutionary journey toward that destination. The third seeding through the Ark of the Covenant, the Hebrew series Egyptians, Urites, and the priesthood of races 3 through 6, and the Anu Melchizedek, 800,000 to 55,000 years ago. For a period of time following the creation of the Ark of the Covenant 840,000 years ago, the Earth went through a period of rebalancing its energetic grid. And during this time, the races did not evolve on the planet's surface. Some descendants of the second seeding prospered within the inner Earth communities, and a few scattered groups had managed to survive within the underground tunnel systems created by those of the second seeding. Most of the human population had fled, finding exile within other planetary systems. The Nephilim had been evacuated to Sirius A, joining remnants of the Draco's race who had found exile with those who became the Anunnaki resistance. About 800,000 years ago, several groups of the now extraterrestrial humans returned to Earth to begin preparation for the third seeding, which would be orchestrated through the Ark of the Covenant portal bridge. Two primary groups of returning humans, descendants of the Series Egyptians and the Hebrew, Melchizedek Hebrew hybrids, from the second seeding were commissioned by the Palladorians of the Harmonic Universe 2, the Elohim, and the Ra Confederacy to orchestrate the third seeding. Upon returning to Earth, these groups discovered that there was a small group of survivors remaining from the second seeding, descendants of the third race, Lemanians, and their Urantrian cloister. The Sirius Egyptians, who had been exiled on Sirius B and in the Palladian star systems, and thus now carried a stronger ET imprint within their genetic codes, interbred with the Lamians and Urantrians, forming a new guardian race through incarnating souls via the Melchizedek cloister morphogenetic field, via the Ark of the Covenant. The new race was called Urtites. They appeared on Earth about 800,000 years ago and working with the races of Inner Earth and the harmonic universe to Palladorians. The Urtites established the priesthood of on Earth, and the Urtites lived primarily underground within the Inner Earth civilization, serving as guardians of the Ark of the Covenant. And when conditions on Earth were conducive to supporting mass surface life, the Urtites were given authority by Harmonic Universe to Syrian Council, Ra Confederacy, and priests of on Terra to begin the third seeding of the human lineage. Many sub-races and families emerged through Urtite genetic strain of each of the five cloister races birthed their race line through the Urtite host race. The race were located throughout various regions of the globe, each developing surface cultures from about 750,000 to 75,000 years ago. The Urtite lineage developed divergent cultures extending from what is now known as Africa through the regions of East Asia, North and South America, Central Europe, Egypt, and into what is now called Iran. Through development of these diversified cultures, the host race, Urtites, created a new cradle of civilization through which the root races and their cloisters could be reseeded on Earth. The third seeding of races, 3, 4, 5, began again via the Ark of the Covenant, under the direction and through the lineage of the Urtites. The third race, Urantrian cloister, began birthing about 75,000 years ago, and their Lemanian root race 73,000 years ago. The Lemanians of the third seeding were called Lemurians, and they were seated on a landmass that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Pacific Ocean and also within the region of the Andes Mountains. The Brunawa cloister of the fourth race entered about 72,000 years ago in the lands that existed in the area now occupied by parts of the Atlantic Ocean and into the territories that became known as Egypt, followed by their root race Atlanteans 70,000 years ago. The Atlanteans of the third seeding became the Atlanteans. The fifth race, Hebrew cloister, entered through the host matrix of the sixth race, Melchizedek cloister, into various positions throughout the globe about 68,000 years ago, followed by their root race, Aryans, 65,000 years ago. The fifth root race, Aryans of the third seeding, were called Aryans. Concentrations of this race were seeded into the regions near what is now called the Black Sea and in the area of what became the Carpathian Mountains. The Anu Melchizedek were seeded into the Atlantean root race Egyptian subrace through Melchizedek cloister host matrix morphogenetic field about 68,000 years ago. The Anu prospered in Atlantis, many migrating to various parts of the globe and interbreeding with other races. The primary concentration of Anu remained in Atlantis, where open lines of commerce with their Syrian Anunnaki forefathers became a standard way of life. The Anunnaki who had joined the Syrian Council through the Treaty of El Anu and the Syrian Cantarians and Syrian blue races of Sirius B became a primary motivating force within Atlantean culture, and the Palladian races of Harmonic Universe 1 assisted in the development of Antrian, and Lemurian culture. These cultures thrived under the influence of the advanced stellar races. The Anu Melchizedek organized their cultures around the spiritual and scientific teaching of the law of one. Members of the Hebrew cloister and the hybrid Hebrew people migrated from other regions to both Atlantis and Lemuria, each bringing with them teachings of the law of one, characteristic of the Melchizedek host matrix. As civilization on Earth prospered, the Syrian Council allowed the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures to receive gifts from the advanced stellar races, which rapidly developed the technology aspects of society to heights far exceeding present earthly cultures. The Syrian blues of Sirius B brought large crystalline power generators to Earth as a gift to the Atlantean and Lemurian cultures. They taught the Urantrians, Lemurians, Anu, and Atlanteans how to draw energy directly from D2 Earth core and store this energy within crystal generators. Permission was granted by the Elohim and Ra Confederacy to allow power to be drawn from the blue flame of Amenti through the passageway of the Ark of the Covenant. The power of the blue flame allowed Atlantean civilization to access multidimensional frequency through which the morphogenetic fields of the Earth's matter particles could be directly affected. Earth's gravitational pull could be neutralized. Objects could be manifested and demanifested. Objects could be teleported to desired location. Bioenergetic healing became a way of life, and genetic evolution was accelerated. Using the power of ET technology, the Atlantean Lemurian cultures thrived. The Anu and Hebrew people of the Melchizedek cloister host matrix became the primary Earth's guardian of the Ark of the Covenant. The original portal passage of the Ark of the Covenant was located within the landmass of the Atlantean continent, and through this interstellar passageway, power was fed through the Earth's grid, the Lemurian continent, and various other developing civilizations. Earth civilizations thrived following the law of one until about 55,000 years ago, when members of the Anunnaki resistance began to infiltrate Atlantean culture, creating genetic and social digression that nearly brought Atlantis to an end.